and the person introducing me had no idea who I was, and he was just some uncle. He Googled me right before the event, and he's introducing me, and he says, "Please welcome to the stage, stand-up comedy and recent convert to Islam, Jiminy Mclellan." And the crowd went wild. Everyone was so excited. They were like crying because they had been making dua for that for so long. And then I had to get on stage and tell everyone the bad news that I was not famous Muslim comedian Jiminy Mclellan, that I was a Catholic comedian named Jeremy Mclellan. And the crowd turned on me. They glared at me. They were scowled and just glared at me for the rest of the night because I had left Islam. I was Muslim for 10 seconds, and that was it. But no, assalamu alaikum to everyone here. Actually, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is that right? All right, good. There you go. There you go. Getting good at that. I'm practicing my salam. I'm getting too good at my salams, I think. As a white guy, I went to confession today at a Catholic church, not for doing this show, but just for other things. And I walked into the booth there and I said, "Hey, Father, assalamu alaikum," and he was like, he looked excited though because he thought he got one back. He was like pretty thrilled at that. But no, it is nice to be here in Fresno. I flew here yesterday. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. That is 12 hours away as far as flying goes. So spent all yesterday flying to get here, and it's cool to be here. I like Charleston. That's where I'm from. Charleston is one of my favorite places, and I have a theory that like the best cities in America are blue cities and red states. That's my theory, right? Like Democratic cities, like liberal cities, but around conservatives. So like you still have a good mix and everything. And I told a friend that, and he was like, I was like, and he said, so the worst cities must be blue cities or red cities and blue states. And I was like, I don't know if that's true. And he was like, are there any that exist? And I looked it up, and there's one that exists. You know what it is? It's Fresno, California. So congratulations. This is a red city in a blue state. What happened here? Why is it red? Is everything just, I don't know. So yeah, all I know is that somewhere in Pakistan, they are holding a fundraiser for Fresno, California. Just asking, please support them. They need our help so much. But no, this is very lovely. I had some food. I actually had a lot of food, 2 plates of food. The food was great. Can we give it up for the food, please? Very good food. Very good food. The food's too good. I've been trying to lose weight, and y'all just feed me so much. And I think that's how you try to convert people to Islam, is that you feed us so much that in order to not gain weight, we have to fast. And then you're like, we're already fasting, so 1 pillar down, 4 to go. Let's do this. I'm like, okay, just relax. And I realized I needed to lose weight when a Pakistani woman told me I looked healthy. And I was like, that's not good. She's like, you look very healthy. I'm like, I don't think that's good. And my weight has gone up and down over the years, as I'm sure a lot of you. And the only time I ever successfully lost weight was when I was in Pakistan and I drank the water. And I don't know if anybody here is trying to lose weight, but if you get your hands on some Pakistani tap water and your body's just like, your body's like a Trump supporter. It's just like if something's foreign, it's just like, get it out, get it out, get it out. We're going to make this body great again. That's why you do it. But one sad thing about traveling is I do get homesick, and so I always look for things that feel like home. And for me, one place that always feels like home, city I'm in, I always get to go to Planet Fitness and try to work off all the food that y'all fed me, And recently I was on tour and I was in a Planet Fitness and I saw a guy wearing a shirt and his shirt said Charleston, South Carolina. And I got excited because that's not normal. It's not a normal city to be a part of or something. And so I walked up to him and I was like, hey man, you from Charleston? And he said, yeah. I was like, oh, cool. Were you born in Charleston? And he said, no. I was like, oh, where are you really from? And he said, Ohio. And I was like, oh, that's cool because I'm from Charleston. He said, okay. And I was like, yeah, I was born in Charleston. And he said, leave me alone. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Dude doesn't want to talk about it. So I go back to my workout. And as I'm working out, I realize I'm in Charleston. Like I had completely forgotten where I was. I had already gotten back from my tour the night before. And I had just walked up to a guy in Charleston and was like, hey, man, you from Charleston? Because I'm from Charleston. Were you born in Charleston? Because I was born in Charleston. Maybe we can be best friends. I was like, this guy thought I was stupid or something. So I go back to my workout. And after I'm done, I drive home, which took me a lot less time than I thought it was going to take me. So I was in Charleston. And I get home and I start telling my wife this story. And she stops me in the middle of the story. And she says, Jeremy, what race was he? And I was like, I don't know. He was like an Asian guy. And she was like, Jeremy, he didn't think you were stupid. He thought you were racist. And I was like, why? And she's like, why? You just walked up to an Asian guy in Charleston and was like, hey, man, you from Charleston? Yeah, but were you born in Charleston is my question. Like, where are you from is what I'm asking. Like, where are your grandparents from is what I mean. Because I'm from Charleston, okay? I was born in Charleston. We're going to make Charleston great again. You know what I'm saying? Not at all what I meant. Not at all what I meant. So it is kind of weird that I'm here. Growing up in Charleston, we were not told a lot about you. We were not told a lot about Muslims. I remember I had a teacher in school who told us about Islam in like 5 minutes. That's all she spent. It was 1 minute per pillar. That was it. And then at the very end, she said, I'll never forget, she said, and by the way, kids, just so you know, you can't trust Muslims. And we were like, why not? And she got real quiet. And she said, because they're allowed to lie about whether they're Muslim. And I was like, really? And she said, yep. And I was like, are you? Like, are you Muslim? And she was like, no. I was like, how do I know? She didn't like that. She didn't like that. But I don't know how it is here in Fresno, but where I'm from and whenever I travel, this is what I think. I think that, at least in America, Muslims tend to know a lot more about Christianity than Christians know about Islam. You guys feel like that's true? Like most of the Christians that I know don't know that Muslims believe in Jesus, right? They have no idea. And none of them know that Muslims also believe that Jesus is coming back, right? Like at the end of time, he'll come back, he'll kill Biden. And then I think that's what I think that's what it says in there. I don't know. Please don't post that on social media. Right. Oh man, I'm gonna get in trouble for that. But okay, right? Like, but isn't it weird? It's weird that like most Christians don't know that Muslims also believe Jesus is coming back, which means that if Islam is true and Jesus does come back, there's going to be a lot of very excited and then very confused Christians who are just like, Jesus, you're back. This is great. Thank you for coming. And he's like, you're welcome. Assalamu alaikum. Like, what? Oh, no. We're like wiping pork stains off our pants. We're like, no. It's something else. It's something else. So no, my life was not set up for me to know a lot of you guys. And however, before I became a comedian, I worked with people with intellectual disabilities. I did that for most of my life, for about 15 years, from the age of 15 to the age of 30. And during that time, my favorite guys to work with, I was at a group home, were a bunch of guys who were mentally disabled and who were Pakistani Muslim. Okay. And it was, that wasn't the joke, but okay. He's like, it's great. No, but that was my job, right? That was my job for years, was taking care of these guys who were Pakistani Muslim and disabled. And so it was my job, right? And so I had to learn about Islam. I had to learn about Pakistan. I had to learn about their disabilities and everything in order to be a good caregiver. And I got to admit, as their caregiver, I was a very strict Muslim. Okay? Like my phone would go off 5 times a day and I'd be like, it's time to pray. It's time to pray. No, I'm not going to pray, but you got to pray. Okay. It did get awkward during Ramadan. It was a little awkward because we would be out in public. I'd like take the guys to the mall or something and walk around. And we would be at the mall and they would be like, can I have some food? And I'd be like, no, you can't have any food. And he'd be like, can I have some water? And I'd be like, no, you can't have any food or water. and people would overhear me. And they would be like, why aren't you giving those disabled guys any food or water? And I'm like, because they're Muslim. like on the phone with CARE, like reporting a hate crime. Like, this is not at all what I expected. And so from those experiences, from that knowledge that I had to have in order to be a good caregiver for years, I learned about Islam, I learned about Pakistan. And then when I became a comedian, right, I was talking about all that stuff, telling stories. And that's how I initially, went viral and got popular among Muslim Pakistanis. And I remember the very first show I ever had that was for a Muslim audience, okay? It was, I think, in Michigan or something. And they sent me a contract. And I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect from the event. I mean, I knew about Muslims, but I didn't know what to expect from an event like this. And in the contract, they had two rules. They said, rule number one, all your material has to be family friendly. I was like, totally fine. I can be family friendly. I can be extended family friendly if you want me to, like aunts, uncles, cousins, fofos, cha-chas, whatever you call them, okay? You bring them, I'm friendly. And I kept reading, and I'm not making this up. It said, rule number two said, you can't do any jokes about the difference between Sunnis and Shia. And I was like, again, not going to be a problem because I don't know the difference between Sunni and Shia. But even now, like, I've always wanted to know, like, what happened the previous year at that charity to make them put that in the contract, right? Like, what comedian did they book who showed up and ruined everyone's night with a solid hour of Sunni versus Shia jokes? Just got up there, was like, got stuck behind this guy in traffic today. Obviously a Sunni. You guys know what I'm talking about. No, I have no idea. And also, one of the things that I've learned doing these kind of events is that the real schism within Islam is not between Sunni and Shia. It's about whether biryani should have potatoes in it. That's the real schism, okay? Like raise your hand if you think biryani should have potatoes in it, okay? Raise your hand if you think it should not have potatoes in it. Okay, all right. That's a majority. That's like a Sunni percentage of the audience. Actually, what's funny is a few months ago, I got to interview Imran Khan on Twitter, right, live and stuff, and I got to talk to him. It was like a few days before he was put in jail. I wonder if it was my fault or something. But at the very end of the interview, it was an hour-long interview. At the very end, I asked him, I was like, I have to ask this. Do you like biryani with or without? And he said with. I don't know. So he's Shia. That's true. Yep. You got to say it. So pro Alu. I remember when I was a caregiver, when I was a caregiver to those guys, one of them, Saeed, his mom was from Lahore. Anyone here from Lahore? Anybody from U1? Okay, 2. Everybody else from Karachi or Islamabad or something? Okay. But Saeed's mom was from Lahore, and Saeed's mom called me up and tried to give me instructions over the phone on how to make him biryani, okay? And at a certain point, she said, make sure that you put aloe in it. And I was like, why would you put aloe in biryani? But I was like, you know what? I'm going to follow instructions. And this is true. I went to the store, and I bought all the ingredients, including aloe, and I mixed it in, and I gave it to them, and they were like, this is disgusting. This tastes like soap. And I was like, but I put aloe in it. They're like, no, aloe is potatoes. And I was like, no, I need to quit. So anyway, that's the thing about like Urdu is like the pronunciation always messes me up. I can't actually like speak good Urdu unless I have a sinus infection. I think like there's something about it where it's like kutta, right? Kutta is the dog, right? There's kutta, and then there's a kurta, and then there's kota, which is the biryani in Lahore, right? That's what they the donkey meat, the kota biryani. So I don't know. So that was my first. Again, it was an interesting event. Invited to perform at a Pakistani wedding. And that was, I had been to Pakistani weddings, okay? But I had not performed at one. And I remember, they sent me like instructions on like how to get to the event. They were like, go to this hotel, go downstairs, Our names are Omar and Zainab, right? They told me about themselves so I could like tailor the comedy to them. And they were like, go to this event, go and like sit up front. And then after the speeches, go on stage and do like 20 minutes about, Pakistan, Islam, whatever. And so I did. I followed all those instructions. I sat up front, right after the speeches. I grabbed the mic. I performed. 20 minutes later, I sit down. I look around. Everyone's staring at me. And I get a phone call. And I'm like, what? And it's Zainab. And she says, you're about to go on. Where are you? And I realized this is, I had just performed at the wrong Pakistani wedding. And so I left the event and I walked down the hallway to the correct Pakistani wedding. And then I performed. It went so much better because, and this is the thing is that like, I feel like if this happened now, there would be at least a few Pakistanis in the audience who would be like, why is Jeremy Mclellan here? Okay. But like back then, like no one knew who I was. I was just this racist white dude who crashed a wedding and then got on stage and did probably a bunch of offensive sounding material about their culture and religion and Sunni Shia, right? And then and the worst part is, I realized this as I was leaving, is that I had been using their names at the wrong names at the wrong wedding. I'm just like Omar and Zainab. That's probably what their names are, whatever. And it was not Omar and Zainab, right? So thankfully that hasn't happened in a long time. And I apologize to Omar and Zainab if you're listening to this or something. So, but no, it is very cool to be. It was so hard to find this place. It was like from the outside, it doesn't look like a mosque, right? And there's nothing on the doors or any, like, are you hiding from everyone in Fresno? Like, I feel like that's what's going on here. But it was a little hard to find this place. And so I did what I normally do. And that is, I was like looking around and I followed hijabis. That's what I do. I get close to the event and then I follow hijabis and somehow I end up at my comedy show. That's how it works, right? It's how it works. And it works like every time except for one. I was in Chicago. I was looking for my event. I saw some hijabis. I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow them. And like 3 blocks later, I realized they are not going to my show. I'm just stalking hijabis. And they're like trying to lose me. And I'm like, no. So yeah, not that. But this is great, though. This is great. It's nice to perform in a mosque that was not a church at one point. It's true. It's true. Because there was a lot of those. There's a lot of those. And I get invited to perform at them, I think, as a way of rubbing it in. They're like, this used to be a church, but now it's a mosque. Come perform. And you know what? Actually, did you really? Oh my gosh, what? What kind of church was it? Like non-denominational kind of. I'm not sure. Baptist or something. Was it Baptist? Yeah. Okay, you can have those. That's fine. You can have the Baptist ones. That's all right. That's an improvement. As far as I'm concerned. So, no, it's fine. Well, 10-acre property. 10 acres. Cool. Oh, good. Wow. Mashallah. That's great. I don't know. Stealing our churches. Mashallah. That's good. Alhamdulillah. That's beautiful. Well, you know what? I don't mind you buying the church because it's our fault for the churches needing to be bought. Like we don't go to church, right? And then they're empty and they have to sell it, and then the Muslims buy it, and then all the Christians show up at the town hall meetings to protest. And it's like, well, you could have come on Sundays, and we wouldn't be having this problem. But what I don't like, I do have to say something, and that is what I don't like is when you don't even change the outside of the church. Like sometimes it still feels like a church when you drive by. It's like you're trying to trick us. They're like, no, come on in. Come on in. It's a beautiful church. Like sometimes you even leave the cross up. You're like, no, it's a T. It stands for takbir. Come on in. Come on in. And, come on. And here's why I really don't like it. Here's why I really don't like it is that I know that at some point, there is going to be a Christian family that moves in down the street, starts attending, and never realizes it's a mosque. And they're just like, man, we have been going to this new church and it is so different, you guys. Like all the church services are on Fridays. So convenient. They make you take your shoes off before you walk in. It's very Japanese. We love it. We love it. What else? Oh, a lot of nuns. A lot of nuns. Like every woman in there is a nun. And they let them get married and have kids now and everything. Like they changed those rules. They're really progressive. And what else? Oh, all the baptisms are in the bathroom. It's just super wet in there all the time. I don't know why. And no, they're very devout Christians. They baptize themselves about 5 times a day. They are on fire for the Lord. Can I get amen? They are. Anyway, we've been going for years, still have no idea what they're saying. But we never learned Latin, so that's our fault. It's our fault. They love Jesus. That's right. I do like how like one difference between Christians and Muslims that you can tell is that like in Christian churches, they say, "Can I get an amen?" Right? They ask. They're very polite. They're like, "Can I get an amen?" They're very sensitive about it. Can I get an amen? In a mosque, like, say amen. Say amen. It's very blunt. Say amen now. Now, say it. Say it. The Christians are like, "Can I please just get an amen?" Like, say amen. Like, okay. All right. I like your way better a little bit. It's nice. It's nice. Like I said, I don't know Latin. I'm trying to learn Urdu, right? I have a tutor that I'm supposed to meet with, like who lives in Islamabad. We're supposed to do like Skype and stuff. We do it like once every other week, and it's interesting. And I realized I needed to learn it because, like, even if a Pakistani is speaking English, they will just throw in Urdu words, and you need to know those in order to talk. And they'll also speak Urdu and throw in English words, right? It's just a big mix of the words. And I remember I had a comment on one of my statuses on Facebook, right? I had a comment, and at one point it said, "Jeremy, you're my favorite Gora." And I was like, I don't know what that means. I gotta look it up. So I put it into Google Translate, and Google Translate said it meant horse. And I was like, is that good? Is that good in Pakistan to be a horse? Like, I was trying to make sense of it in my head. I was like, okay, so like in India, it's the cow that's the sacred animal. So in Pakistan, it must be the horse that's the sacred animal. And I'm their favorite one. I'm like, I'm fast, I'm powerful, I'm a very good Gora. Gora, right? I also realized I needed to learn Urdu like officially and not just go by like what I pick up, because like the first few times I went to Pakistan, I had a translator with me. Like I didn't even know who it was, just a guy who showed up and was like, "I will translate for you." I'm like, "Okay, fine." And after a few days, I started not trusting him because people would come up speaking Urdu and they'd be like, blah, 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 kidnapping, blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, what? And the translator would be like, he said, "Welcome to our beautiful country." And I'm like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. I don't know Urdu, but he did not say that. He's like, blah, 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 CIA station chief, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, 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 no. I know what that means. I know what that means. He said you're handsome. Nope. Nope. And also, like I would go there. Like the first few times I went in August, right? Terrible time to go, super hot. Everyone there is complaining about being hot, and they're saying "get me." And I would like overhear them, and I'd be like, "It's actually Jeremy, just so you know. It's actually, I know you recognize me and everything, but like, it's actually Jeremy." And they're like, "No, no, get me." Is it get me? Like, no, Jeremy. It's Jeremy. Also, like, I thought everyone would just greet each other like "Assalamu alaikum." I thought that's all you needed to know, right? I get there, no one's saying "Assalamu alaikum." They're saying "Keseo," right? Keseo. But I'm like, for the first few weeks, I thought they were saying "Guess who." It sounds the same if you don't know what it is, right? Like, I'd go over to people's houses, they'd open the door and be like, "Guess who?" I'm like, "Who?" They're like, "No, guess who?" I'm like, "Who?" Like, "No, guess who?" I'm like, "Get me." Like, I don't know. Eventually, I learned that you don't need to know Urdu to communicate in Pakistan, right? All you need to know is how to speak English with a Pakistani accent. That's it. Because you go there and you'd be like, where's the bathroom? And they're like, what? I'm like, where's the bathroom? And they're like, what? And I'm like, that is the bathroom. And they're like, oh, yeah. Like, oh, wow. Is that all Urdu is? Just English with the Pakistani accent? This is great. So I've been to Pakistan 5 times in total, okay? And I'll be going back next spring, inshallah, which means it's not going to happen. But I'm going to go. And sorry. I said that joke in the UK. And I don't know if y'all know, like, UK Muslims, but they're, like, way more severe than you guys. Like, they do not mess around. This girl came up to me after the event, and she was like, you're not allowed to joke about inshallah. And I was like, I'm not. And she's like, no, you're a white Christian. You can't joke about that word. Never joke about that word again. And I was like, fine, I won't do it, inshallah. And we'll do it again. We'll do it again. I do remember though, the first time I went to Pakistan, and I was nervous, right? I was nervous. And the main reason I was nervous was because Nawaz Sharif was still the prime minister. Okay. And whatever you think about him, right? He was the prime minister, and Imran Khan was just starting to gain momentum. And that was when a rumor got started in Pakistan that I am Imran Khan's son. Okay. Now, if you follow me on social media, you know about this whole story. But basically, when he was running, his ex-wife, Reham Khan, she released a book saying that he had a love child in the West. And I, just trying to be funny on social media, said that was our secret. Right? Why do you got to out me like that, right? Like, I told you that was me, and I didn't want you to tell anyone, et cetera, right? Just trying to be funny, okay? And I thought it was funny. I went to bed, okay? I wake up. Turns out that got screenshotted and went viral and got put on a Nawaz Sharif Facebook page with the caption, "We found him." There's just me, this horse, just, we found him. Go days, whatever. And there's all these things. Yeah, it's terrible. And I was nervous because I hadn't gotten my visa yet to go to Pakistan, right? And so, like, the day before I'm supposed to leave for Pakistan, I get a phone call saying that my visa had been declined. Okay. And I'm terrified because I'd already sold tickets to like all my show and everything, and they were sold out and stuff. And so this is true. Like, I flew to Washington, D.C. I met with my friend Sultan. We got on the phone. We called everybody that we knew in Pakistan. And somehow we get a hold of Nawaz Sharif's secretary. Okay. And we explained to him the entire situation. He says, I'll see what I can do. He calls back in 1 hour. He says, take an Uber to the embassy, give them your passport. They will give you a business visa. I do that. I barely make it. I barely make it on my flight, okay? Barely make it on my flight with the visa. And I fly to Pakistan. And this is true. On the flight to Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif was removed from office. And so this is true. Nawaz Sharif's last act of corruption was getting me my visa to go to Pakistan. That's true. That's true. I was also nervous. My mom was making me nervous, right? Hey. My mom was making me nervous, right? Because my mom, I can hear you guys. I can hear the entire conversation going on. Okay. And y'all have like free range kids in the Muslim community. I don't know what. Every Muslim complains about how strict their parents are, and I'm like, no. That's not true at all. Like, usually there's like 2-year-olds who come on stage with me and stuff, and the parents just in the audience. Like, this is so adorable. He's ruining the show. Mashallah, this is beautiful. Mashallah. No, it's funny. For years, I thought that like every Muslim kid's name was Mashallah. Because they'd be like, this is my kid, Mashallah. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's everyone's named Mashallah. And I'd be like, this is my kid. And they're like, oh, Mashallah. And I'm like, no, his name's John. His name's John. Oh, John, Mashallah. No, John Mclellan. Stop trying to rename my kids already. trying to wait until they convert, okay? Then you can rename them. I don't know. But no, I was a little nervous. My mom was like scaring me. She was like, Jeremy, if you go to Pakistan, someone's going to kill you, right? Someone's going to kill you. And I was like, no, Mom, you don't understand. Like everyone who wants to kill me lives right here in America, okay? Or Israel, right? One of those two places. That's who wants to kill me. Like, matter of fact, like I'll be fine in Pakistan. If I ever had to flee America, that's where I would go, right? I would go to Pakistan. I would go to a city called Abbottabad, because apparently you can hide there for years and years and no one ever finds you, right? That's a Bin Laden joke. I made a mistake though. I told that joke in Islamabad. I was at the Islamabad club. And I thought I would be cute and everything. And I was like, oh, well, whatever. And this woman in the audience gets really upset. And she says, excuse me, I'm from there. And I was like, for real, you're from Abbottabad? And she was like, yeah, and it's not pronounced Abbottabad. I was like, well, how do you say it? And she's like, it's Abbottabad. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's why we couldn't find him. For years, George W. Bush was like, we got to go to Abbottabad. He's probably in Abbottabad. We got to go get him. Probably what happened. And by the way, I was not nervous. I was not scared. And I've never been scared of dying in Pakistan, right? I've never been scared of that. What I am afraid of is not death. My fear is dying in a dumb way, Like it's like food. Like if you're in Pakistan, you don't want to get McDonald's. You don't want to get food that you can eat anywhere. You want like good, local, authentic Pakistani food, right? Like, and that's how I feel about death, right? Is that when you're in Pakistan, you don't want a death that you can get anywhere, right? Like a car crash or like a slip and fall or something. You don't want one of those. You can get that anywhere. You want like a good, local, authentic Pakistani death, like a car bomb or like a drone strike. Like that's how you want to go. That's how you want to go, right? So I've never been nervous about that. One thing that has happened though is whenever I do shows like these, or recently my videos about like Israel and Palestine. I don't know if you've seen those, but is that I've started getting death threats, right? And there's two kinds of death threats. One are like direct. They're like, I'm going to kill you tomorrow, right? And like those you can do something about. Those you can like send to the FBI or something, even though let's be honest, it's probably the FBI sending them, Like, did you write this? Yeah, I wrote this, But then there's a second kind of death threat where the people are just like, I hope you die one day. And I'm like, yeah, me too, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to be cursed with immortality. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much, But as far as dying in a dumb way, I did have that almost happen. I was driving in Lahore, okay? I don't know if any of you have ever driven in Pakistan, but the rules are very different from driving in America, okay? In America, you drive on the right side of the road, okay? In Pakistan, they drive on the left side of the road, or the right side of the road, or the middle of the road, or on top of the road, or underneath the road, or just all over the road. There's no rules, and people just do whatever they want, okay? That's how it was. So I drove in Lahore on Mall Road on the 14th of August, okay? And it was great, it was exciting and everything, but there was a guy in front of me in a pickup truck, okay? And he had a ladder in the back of his truck, okay? And he was not driving very well at all. He was swerving all over the road, slamming on brakes, obviously a Sunni. You guys know what I'm talking about. And he slams on the brakes. The ladder falls out of the truck, okay? And it bounces in the air. And I think this is going to go through the windshield. I'm going to die. It doesn't. It slides right underneath our car. Slides underneath. And I barely make it. I'm like, if I had been driving just a little bit faster, ladder through the windshield, I wouldn't be here today. But I was driving just a little bit slower that day because I was texting. Okay? Let to be a lesson to you. Texting saves lives. It does. It does. I have a little story about that story. And it's so in that story, I say the guy was not driving very well, and then I say obviously a Sunni, right? And that line, obviously a Sunni, in comedy is called a callback. Okay, it's a line, and it calls back to the previous story that I told about the contract I had to sign, right? And people, like, audiences love callbacks, right? It's like a little inside joke between you and the audience. It's great, okay? And I used to have a lot of those. I used to have a lot of callbacks in my set to that story about the Sunni and Shia contract thing. And audiences love it, right? And one time, though, it didn't work. The audience did not like it, and it was like 2,000 Muslims in Dallas. And I was doing that. I was doing my set. I was calling back. I was doing all the callbacks. The audience was not laughing at any of the callbacks. And I was like, what is going on? And after the show, I'm listening to a recording of my set, and I realized that I had forgotten to tell the original story about the contract, right? But I had kept all of the callbacks. And so, like, throughout the show, I'm just like, obviously a Sunni. And they're just like, what is this guy saying? Who is this guy? And you know what I realized? I realized that after the event, the organizers probably got together and they were like, you know what? For next year, we need to put in the contract that the comedian cannot do any jokes about the difference between Sunni. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm the guy. I'm the one. This is a time loop and I'm stuck in it. And that's me. It's me. It's me. It is interesting, just to be honest with you, it is interesting, like, being like a white Christian and having lots of like Pakistani Muslim fans, right? That is an interesting thing, and it sort of goes without saying. But one thing that I've noticed, though, is that a lot of people have no idea what to make of me, right? They have no idea how to think about me. And one thing people say very often is they're like, wow, that's a very interesting niche you have. Very interesting niche, very interesting niche that you have. And I'm like, niche, okay. How many white people are there? And there are like 150 million white people total in the world. And I'm like, how many Muslims are there? And they're like 1.8 billion Muslims. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a niche. Yeah. Like, it reminds me of like the first time I went to Pakistan and I landed and I saw all the Pakistanis and I'm like, there's a lot of immigrants here. This is amazing. They're like, no, you are. You're the immigrant. I'm like, oh, okay. One thing that is true, though, is that when I'm in an airport and I get recognized by white people, I get excited. Yeah. It's true. Like, I'm like, oh, you know who I am? This is amazing. It's a white person. And then it turns out they're like a convert to Islam. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't count. Like, that's just not the same thing. I do like white Muslims. That like white Muslims love trying to talk to me because they want another one, you know? And they're very like, come on. Like but well, like that, yeah. One thing I love, though, about white Muslims is that you can always tell when they became Muslim by the names of their children. You guys notice that? Like they'll have a bunch of kids and they'll be like, these are my kids. Their names are like Peter, Susan, Ahmed, Fatiha. And I'm like, whoa. What happened right here? And they're like, oh, well, you know, Shada, whatever. I'm like, okay. That's when it was. That's when it was. It's different for Catholics. Like, you can always tell when someone became Catholic by the ages of the kids, right? They're like, these are my kids. They're 15, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wife gave birth last night and she's pregnant. Like, wow. Mashallah. I don't know. It is. I do love it when people try to like convert me to Islam, and it's totally fine to do that. By the way, to try and convert me is fine. But one thing is, I thought that I had heard everything. Okay, I thought that I had heard everything. Are you trying to convert me to Islam right now? Is that what you're doing? Huh? Shh. Okay. Is one time I was doing an event and I was talking about conversion or whatever, and this guy yells out, the best argument for Islam that I had ever heard. And I had never heard it before. He yells out, just try it. That's it. That was his argument, was just try it. And I was like, you mean try it? And he's like, yeah, if you don't like it, you can always go back. And I'm like, I don't know if you can go back. I've heard stories. Like, I don't think you can go back. And but I love the idea of just like trying Islam for like 30 days. And it's like a subscription or something. And there's like 100% like zakat back guarantee, okay? And I'm like, that's totally different from us. Like, Catholics cannot do that, you know? Like, Catholics, we have to be like, if after 30 days you're not completely satisfied, it's working. If you're miserable, you're a great Catholic. It's great. It's great. It's great. The whole one thing that's been interesting with this whole Gaza, Palestine, Israel issue coming up is that it feels like all of the like old Islamophobia is doing like reruns, like all of the stuff that was like post 9/11, whatever, and then it sort of went away for like a little bit. It didn't really go away, but like I feel like when Trump ran for office, right? Like because he was so Islamophobic, everyone was like, well, that's obviously bad. And so then it was like, okay, great. And so the Democratic Party like used Muslims to go against Trump, and they were like, "We're your friends, whatever." And then this happened, and just all of that went back. And now that I'm hearing the exact same stuff that I heard when I was like, 16, just all this stuff when I was like a teenager, when I was in my 20s and stuff, coming back. And it's interesting because like I'm getting like a tiny piece of it. Like I had someone accuse me online of being a part of the Muslim Brotherhood comedy circuit. And I was like, I don't think the Muslim Brotherhood has a comedy circuit. But I started wondering, I started getting insecure about it. I was like, do they have a comedy circuit? And they just haven't invited me to like perform at that? Like, this is messed up, And so, yeah, people don't know what to make of me. And another group that doesn't know what to make of me are Muslims sometimes who think that I'm like in the CIA or something, right? And like at the end of the CIA class, I just threw a dart at a map and it hit Pakistan. And they're like, that's my assignment, I guess, And and one thing that's been interesting is I'm always worried about like, okay, like how am I going to appear to people? What's going to look like? And during the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, because everything was so messed up, I started going to therapy during the pandemic, okay? And my therapist moved offices, and he ended up in the same building as our local FBI group thing. And so it's like oh, thank you. He's like, you look dry. Is this to drink or is this? He's like, you do some voodoo with the. Oh man. So yeah, so my therapist is now inside of the same building as the FBI, and like the main sign out front is for the FBI. And like down the street is a Pakistani restaurant. And I'm so paranoid that like the Pakistanis are going to see me going into the FBI building like once a week. And then they're going to like be like, is he a like agent or something, And they're going to go and find the guy who I talked to. And they're going to be like, do you know Jeremy Mclellan? And then because he's my therapist, he's going to say, I'm sorry, I'm legally not allowed to talk about that. They're going to be like, I knew it. I knew this guy. I knew it. Another thing that happened, like sort of related to that, is I performed a few months ago at a Shia mosque in New Jersey, and it was interesting. It was a little bit like this. I had this thing. I had a lapel mic, right? But it was all hooked up in here, and you couldn't really see it. It was like on my like t-shirt underneath this. And I was talking to the imam afterwards, and he said, it's great to have you. We don't normally have white people here who are not undercover FBI agents. And I was like, that's funny. That's like an imam joke, like whatever. And I laughed. And right as I laughed, the wire fell out of my jacket and just hung there. And I was like, abort, 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 abort. And I didn't know how to tell him, like, no, I'm not spying on you on behalf of the FBI. I'm spying on you on behalf of the Sunnis. I'm telling them. So, like I said, I have a wife and kids. My wife's name is Stephanie, and my kids' names are John and Jewel. They will all change them later when they convert to Islam, but for now, it's Stephanie and John and Jewel. And I love you, mashallah, yeah. Did you say mashallah or inshallah? Mashallah, okay, yeah. So, my kids are great. John and Jewel, they're awesome. They love each other so much. Johnny loves Jewel. The problem is that he can't say Jewel. He calls her Jew, which is cute. Like he's 4, he can't say Jewel. He's like, Jew. I'm like, yeah, it's great. And it's cute at home. You know, he'll be like, I love Jew. And I'm like, we all love the Jews, honey. They're great. Maybe not right now, but like we do like them. We do like them, you know. And and it's not so cute like in public. Okay, like we'll be at the library and they'll be playing hide and go seek, and like Jules hiding, and Johnny, who's this blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Nazi-looking child, is just walking around the library going, Jew, Jew, where are you, Jew? I'm gonna find you, Jew. And we're just like, oh my God, this is horrible. He can spot him. I don't know. This is not okay. But no, we have started to worry though. We have started to worry that my kids might be Muslim. Okay. And not in the way that you guys are like every baby's Muslim, which I know about the fitra, okay? I know about the fitra. However, it sounds super aggressive to non-Muslims. That's like super aggressive. Like, you know, like I'll be like, no, these are my kids. They're you know, they're Christian. They're like, no, they're not. They're Muslim. You just don't know it yet. And I'm like, okay, relax. I don't mean it like that. I mean, there have been some signs that my kids might be Muslim. Okay. Number one, they were both born on the first day of Ramadan. That's true. And they were both late. It's like 2 weeks past their due date. I'm like, these babies are on Muslim time. I don't appreciate this at all. Also, they like to eat at really weird times of the day. It's like 4 p.m. and they want lunch. And I'm like, this is not white scheduling. I don't appreciate this. But the main reason we think my kids might be Muslim, and I'll leave you guys with this. You've been an amazing audience. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting TCF. I actually have, hold on. I have. This is me and Raul Pendi at the TCF school. So yeah. So reason we're here. So please give money to TCF. The money goes to TCF, and then they hold fundraisers for Fresno and send the money back, and you'll all get it back. It's fine. But no, like I said, I'll leave you with this. The main reason we think my kids might be Muslim is that we have been reading to them every night. Okay, they love being read to. One book in particular. It's a book called Goodnight Moon. You guys heard of this book? Every kid loves this book. The problem is, whenever we read it to them, they will start arguing with me about whether they sighted the moon, and it's just this huge debate like every night. And I'm like, no, it's right there. The moon's right there in the window. And they're like, it doesn't count if it's cloudy. It's cloudy. The moon it's not sighted if it's cloudy. And I'm like, no. The schedule says the moon is right there. And they're like, no, we don't go by the schedule. We go by whether we can see it like our ancestors did. And I'm like, no. Astaghfirullah. You are not Muslim. Astaghfirullah. You're not Muslim. Isna says the moon is right there. They're like, we don't let Isna tell us what to do. I'm like, these Salafi babies. Okay. This is a Maliki household. Okay. I don't even know what that is. So how do we resolve this? Every night after we argue, we go across the room and we pick up one of their toy phones and we just call a Saudi baby and ask them if they saw the moon. And if the Saudi saw it, then it's there. So anyway, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for being here, and have a good night. Thank you so much. Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you. What's that?
As Muslim, one name.
Okay, yeah, that's good enough. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Oh, yeah. I've got a hot mic.
Can I try to convert you now?
Quickly want to thank
Jeremy again by the first name and the short introduction. But Jeremy, thank you so much. We had a lot of fun. Everybody enjoyed it. Next time I'll try a longer introduction. And we're gonna paintings. Before you guys leave, hold on for one more minute. We're gonna announce who got the paintings because you auctioned on them. So just give me 1 minute to get the sheets and I'll announce who got the paintings. And last but not the least, please, we got, if you can help clean up, that'd be great. But more importantly, so far